As 2021 starts to come to an end, it's time to look back at all of the amazing games that were released this year. I actually expected this year to be pretty weak, since most of the really heavy hitters seem to be coming out in 2022, but this year had a surprising amount of fantastic gaming experiences. I was just barely able to put together a top 10 list of new games I played this year, since most of my time has been spent playing older titles. This year I finally played through all 4 Uncharted games, which were incredible. I beat all of the 2D Metroid games, made it about halfway through Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but still haven't finished it yet, and spent even more time playing games like Animal Crossing New Horizons, Splatoon 2, and Stardew Valley. There were some games that released this year that I really wanted to play, but just never got around to it, like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and Monster Hunter Stories 2. I'm also only including totally new games on this list, which means as much as I loved Skyward Sword HD, it won't be included. Now let's jump into my top 10 games of 2021, starting with number 10. Mario Golf Super Rush is very similar to Mario Tennis Aces, a solid Mario sports game that's fun enough to play, but doesn't have enough content or modes to keep you really invested. The golf gameplay is great, but the small roster of characters and bland map designs keep it from becoming anything too special. Seriously though, where's Diddy Kong? I started out really enjoying the story mode, where you play as your own Mii and explore these large hub areas in between rounds of golf. It starts off strong, but later on the story rushes to the end in a pretty unsatisfying way. I'm being pretty hard on this game, but it also did a lot of things right. The new speed golf mode is a ton of fun. Running to where you hit the ball is a genius gameplay idea, and it fits in perfectly with the usual chaotic Mario style of gameplay. Hitting your ball into the distance feels great, and the new Battle Golf side mode can be pretty fun too. But sadly this game doesn't do anything to be super memorable. It's a good time, but it could have been a lot better. WarioWare Get It Together is the first totally new entry in the WarioWare series in over 10 years, and I'm so glad this micro minigame series is back. Wario finally gets the spotlight he deserves, delivering over 200 microgames in a fun and charming story mode about getting sucked into a video game. There's a huge cast of quirky characters, and what's really cool is that you can play as all of them, which changes how you approach each minigame. I really enjoyed testing all the different characters and choosing which ones I liked best. In case you were wondering, my favorite characters are probably Mike, Jimmy T, and Dr. Crygor. The minigames are really replayable since you can beat them in many different ways using different characters. But it didn't take long for me to feel like I experienced everything the game had to offer. It may be short, but it was still a fun and enjoyable experience while it lasted. Flynn, Son of Crimson totally caught me off guard with how good it is. I think I misjudged it at first because it looked like just another 2D pixel art indie game, but this game is really great. The pixel graphics are just gorgeous, and done better than most other games like it. The combat feels snappy and responsive, and rewards the players who learn enemy attack patterns and signals. There are many different weapons you can use, and each feels unique and useful in their own way. The levels are really well designed, with lots of awesome platforming mechanics that are used to their full potential. The story is simple and effective, with a great soundtrack and sense of atmosphere too. The only thing I was slightly disappointed with is that it's level-based instead of being a big open Metroidvania, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a really solid fantasy adventure game that you don't want to miss. Alba: A Wildlife Adventure technically released at the end of 2020, but it came out on Switch in June of this year, so I'm including it anyway. This game feels like a childhood summer full of adventure, and I absolutely love it. The visual art style is just gorgeous and helps bring this island to life. There's exotic wildlife all over the place, and taking pictures of them is so much fun. This is one of those games that's really relaxing to play and just makes you happy. The story is super cute and teaches you important lessons about respecting nature and the creatures around you. My favorite part of this game was just running around the island and exploring. It filled me with a sense of joy and discovery that felt similar to last year's A Short Hike. If you're looking for a cute and charming game to chill out with, it doesn't get much better than Alba. Mario Party Superstars is the game that finally gets the series back on track. This game goes back and recreates some of the best Mario Party minigames and puts them all onto some of the classic boards from the first few games. I'm not a huge expert on Mario Party, but this one is a lot more fun to play than Super Mario Party was. The boards are way more interesting and unique, and basically every single minigame is enjoyable. I always love local multiplayer co-op games like this, since sometimes it feels like these never get made anymore. But you can also play this game online, and it works surprisingly well. I've played a few matches online, and I never had any problems, which is rare for a Switch game. Mario Party Superstars is up there alongside Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. As one of the best multiplayer experiences on the Nintendo Switch. Forza Horizon 5 lets you loose onto the open roads of Mexico, and exploring this vibrant and varied landscape is just amazing. I know most of you probably don't care about car games, so I'll try and keep this short. Basically, this game is probably the greatest open world racing game of all time, with an insane amount of cars to choose from and tight racing controls that feel great. And playing on an Xbox Series X really shows off the power of the console, and truly feels like a next-gen experience. I love the atmosphere of the Forza Horizon games. It feels like a celebration of cars and the places we drive them. Driving around the roads of Mexico is weirdly calming to me, and I usually prefer just exploring the open world to actual racing. Bowser's Fury was an extra add-on to the Super Mario 3D World port to Switch, and it's absolutely incredible. It may not be a full game, but this glimpse into the future of 3D Mario was a blast to play through. Instead of being level or sandbox based, Bowser's Fury gives you one big open world to explore, with islands containing their own linear platforming challenges. I was unsure that 3D Mario would work in an open world format, but this game has proven that not only is it possible, but it works perfectly. Riding around on Plessie to get to all the different islands never gets old, and Bowser's new huge and scary design is super awesome. Battling Fury Bowser and running away from him are both great, and finally make Bowser feel like an actual threat again. Mario games always have good music, but this game takes it to the next level with a seriously fantastic soundtrack. This game somehow manages to combine the best aspects of a linear Mario game with the freedom of a sandbox one, and that's really amazing. The only reason this game isn't higher on the list is because it isn't really a full game, but it makes me extremely excited for the future of Mario. Monster Hunter Rise turned me into a Monster Hunter fan. I'd never played a game from this series before, and man have I been missing out. The gameplay loop of hunting monsters in a huge open area and using a weapon you've mastered is so satisfying and entertaining. Battles against these huge beasts are super epic and intense, and really make you feel like an expert hunter. I also love the Japanese aesthetic of the hub world. Komura Village has got to be one of my favorite video game locations now. The story is pretty weak, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. The giant dogs you ride on are new additions to the franchise, and I honestly can't imagine playing without them. Traversing the beautiful world of Monster Hunter is so much fun while riding on your Palamute. And for the Switch, the graphics look really impressive. This is probably one of the best looking games on the system. This was actually my most played game of this year, because there's a crazy amount of content to dive into, with a super replayable gameplay loop that's tons of fun. Kena Bridge of Spirits caught my attention with its first trailer back in 2020 that showed off a stunning visual style and art direction. I really didn't think this game would be able to live up to my level of hype for it, but it absolutely did. I have no hesitation in saying that this is the best looking video game I have ever played. It really feels like you're controlling a gorgeous animated movie. The cutscenes especially are quality enough to come straight out of a movie. I hope Zelda games can someday look as good as this game does. The gameplay is fantastic too, with lots of exploration, platforming, and combat elements. Exploring and platforming are amazing, but the combat has a few problems. The difficulty is way too high, even on the normal setting, and healing is super frustrating when it shouldn't be. But for Ember Lab's first ever game, it's completely understandable to have a few rough edges. The story more than makes up for any problems though. The narrative and soundtrack alone were enough to make me consistently consider Kena for my top pick of the year. The story is moving and personal, telling tragic tales that really landed with me emotionally. But the game perfectly balances the tone with both happy and sad moments. The music and atmosphere are terrific, creating a world that I just want to spend time in. I could keep talking, but basically Kena Bridge of Spirits is an incredible game that I think everyone should experience, and it just barely misses out on my game of the year because of one other title. Metroid Dread is one of the best Nintendo games I've played in years. It's everything I could have wanted from a modern 2D Metroid game and so much more. The controls are just perfect. Controlling Samus has never felt this good, and moving around the world is fun all by itself. Metroid games always succeed at atmosphere, and Dread is no different. The beautiful landscapes in the background and dynamic lighting in the environments pull you into the world and make exploring Planet ZDR constantly exciting. This game really pushes the Switch to its absolute limit. I don't think games can look much better on the console than this. The boss fights are next level good, where at first it seems like you will never be able to beat them, but over time you learn how to dodge and weave through their attacks and strike back. I won't show it, but the final boss in particular is just incredible, and is now one of my favorite final bosses of all time. In classic Metroidvania fashion, there are so many abilities scattered across the map for you to collect. You can use these upgrades to make both combat and exploration more effective. The music isn't as strong as past 2D Metroid games, but it's still great and serves the gameplay really well. The story has a lot of epic and memorable moments that will make longtime fans super happy. I'm so glad I decided to play through all the previous 2D Metroid games before playing Dread, because it gave me a new sense of appreciation and love for everything the Metroid series has to offer. Every element of this game comes together to create a superb video game that is easily my personal 2021 Game of the Year. And that's my list for the top 10 games of 2021. There were so many great games this year, and I really had a good time playing them. Hopefully I didn't upset too many of you. Remember that all of this is just my opinion. I'm sure your top games of this year are very different from mine, so go down to the comments and share which games you liked best. I'm honestly a little scared for next year because of how many huge games are coming out, since I could barely keep up with all the new games from 2021. But that doesn't make me any less excited. Having too many great games to play definitely isn't a bad thing. And I want to say thanks to everyone who watched my videos this year. Your support means the world to me. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.